I am Fernando Ugarte. I am a retired surgeon and a fellow of the American College of Surgeons. I live in Lakewood Ranch, Florida, and I practiced medicine for 52 years before I retired. One of the things that I enjoy now is a hobby of photography, which I started while I was a student at the University of Chicago Medical School. And it has continued throughout the years, particularly now that I am retired. It started back when I was a student in surgery at the University of Chicago, and I noticed that some of the surgeons had Instamatic cameras to be used in the operating room to document the cases, which were going to be used at a conference later on, and therefore I bought myself a Kodak Instamatic camera with a close-up lens for $50, and I started taking pictures in the OR. I decided to buy a Pentax camera to take outside of the OR, and I started taking pictures and realized that there is something outside of the OR that is of interest, although my pictures were absolutely horrible, and I didn't realize how bad I was until I noticed that occasionally I took a good picture. I just take my camera everywhere. I photograph scenery, I photograph murals that are in buildings, I photograph buildings themselves. And one of the things that happened is that after I retired, at the beginning, I thought, oh, my life is over. I'm not going to be doing cases. I'm not going to be in the OR. I'm going to miss being in the OR and doing cholecystectomies or colectomies. And once I retired, I started getting into more photography. I got involved into several photography clubs where I lived, and then these people are involved in doing field trips. So I started going out and photographing places here. One of the things that I noticed is that when we are out of the OR, the only world that we have is surgery or medicine, and we don't have anything else. And I started thinking, if I go to a museum and I take pictures, then I get a little more interest. I have a lot of interest in other things, not only photography, but history, architecture. And I started taking pictures of the buildings in Chicago. And I continued taking pictures of downtown Chicago. When I celebrated 20 years of graduation from medical school, they asked me to present a paper at the alumni meeting in Chicago. And instead of presenting something about science, I presented my pictures of 20 years of architecture in Chicago. And my paper was absolutely wonderful because people who had not been in Chicago for 20 years, they didn't know all the buildings that had been built in 20 years since our graduation. My friend, Dr. Patricia Turner, who got me involved into the American College of Surgeons. This is an important photograph. When I met her, we were at the Kansas chapter of the American College of Surgeons, and I was the only one with a camera documenting the meeting, and I was able to take one of the pictures that was published in the bulletin of the American College of Surgeons. When you want to find something, you have to make the time. When I was a surgeon, I was extremely busy, but I always carry my camera in my car. You have to be ready to take the picture. I am an early riser. In the summer or in the spring with the flowers blooming, I would just take my camera and in about 10 minutes, I would make my flower rounds. I went to homes where they had flowers. I would look at the flowers and I would take several pictures of the blooming flowers and then go to my office very quickly. Those were called my flower rounds. You have to make the time, not only for photography, but you have to make the time for other things. You know, there are other hobbies that we like to enjoy. You know, I enjoy history, so I bought history books and I read them at night. Many times I was very tired, but in 5 minutes I would read 2 pages and then do something else. You have to have the time. And that gave me a different outlook of life. Not only I was practicing surgery, but I was looking at other things that make us interesting. One of the things that I have to say is that the training in my days was difficult, but it wasn't as difficult as it is now with all the technology, all the pressure that we have. So we have to take time and we have to take life easy. We have to take life easy, and we cannot do two things at the same time, regardless of how we try.